Could Meghan Markle's acting career be over before it even truly begins? You might think that after her royal exit, Meghan's life would be a glamorous, unstoppable rise. But in Hollywood, fame isn't a guarantee, and now, a formidable new rival is making waves, determined to expose every flaw, every secret, and every misstep. That rival is none other than Lily Collins. And the story unfolding right now is more shocking than anything you've read in tabloids or seen on social media. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. The world watched Meghan Markle transform from Suits darling to real-life Duchess. Millions applauded, millions criticized, and millions still questioned how someone could navigate Hollywood stardom while living under the most scrutinized lens in the world. Her marriage into the royal family marked a pinnacle of public fascination. A moment where her name became more than just an actor's credit. It became a headline, a brand, a symbol. But now, the tables are turning in ways that no one could have predicted. It all started with a new film, Close Personal Friends. A seemingly innocent casting decision, but in reality, it was the first step of a collision course. Meghan Markle, the former Duchess of Sussex, had signed on to star alongside Lily Collins, a rising Hollywood powerhouse known not only for her acting chops, but also for her meticulous control over her image and career trajectory. At first glance, it appeared to be a standard industry move, two stars coming together for a high-profile project. But behind the glossy promotional images and press releases, tensions were already simmering. Industry insiders had begun whispering about the clash long before cameras started rolling. Some claimed that Lily Collins, ever protective of her space in Hollywood, viewed Meghan not as a co-star, but as a direct threat. It's more than professional rivalry, one unnamed source revealed. Lily sees someone who's not just entering her space, but attempting to rewrite Hollywood norms in her own image. And she's not having it. The words themselves carried a weight of implication, the kind that Hollywood gossip thrives on. This was no ordinary competition. This was a battle for legitimacy, for credibility, for dominance. And let's not forget Meghan's past. A career that began in television, a whirlwind marriage into royalty, a retreat from the public eye, and then a dramatic re-entry into the entertainment world. It all created the perfect storm. Lily Collins had done her homework. She knew every headline, every viral clip, every scandal and rumor that had ever touched Meghan Markle. And according to sources, she wasn't content to simply coexist. She had made it clear that she intended to challenge Meghan at every turn. But why would this matter to the audience, to Hollywood, to anyone outside of the studio walls? Because this isn't just about two actresses sharing a screen. This is a story about reputation, influence, and survival in a world where one misstep can cost millions. It's about the clash between royal notoriety and Hollywood credibility. It's about ambition, and it's about the lengths some are willing to go to protect their space and their legacy. Let's pause for a moment to consider the stakes. Imagine stepping onto a set where your co-star isn't merely acting. She's analyzing every move, every expression, every line you deliver. Imagine a seasoned industry figure who knows how to wield power behind the scenes, who has allies in casting offices, who has connections in publicity firms, who understands the subtle art of narrative control. For Meghan, this wasn't just a role. It was a test of resilience, a confrontation with a side of Hollywood that isn't always forgiving, especially to those who have lived their lives under a global microscope. And yet, there was more. Rumors began surfacing, hints of a dirty past that Lily Collins allegedly discovered, evidence that could challenge the pristine public persona Meghan had worked so hard to maintain. Stories from former colleagues, private anecdotes from production crews, subtle inconsistencies in public statements. All of it painted a picture that Hollywood insiders found compelling and dangerous. Could Lily's strategy expose Meghan in a way that would permanently damage her acting career? Some sources said yes, some said no. But one thing was certain. The tension was real, and it was escalating faster than anyone expected. The drama didn't unfold slowly. It was immediate. Reports of on-set tension, subtle digs exchanged between the two actresses, and strategic public appearances suggested that this rivalry was more than professional. It was personal. Social media buzzed with speculation. fans picked sides, and the press began framing the story as a modern Hollywood battle royale. Meghan Markle, the former Duchess with international fame, versus Lily Collins, the Hollywood darling with precision and power. It was a story that no one could ignore, because the stakes were nothing less than the trajectory of Meghan's post-royal career. But what exactly did Lily Collins know? According to sources, she had uncovered aspects of Meghan's professional history that were never meant to resurface. Minor controversies, alleged on-set conflicts, perhaps even undisclosed tensions with previous co-stars. These weren't mainstream headlines. They were insider knowledge, the kind of information that could sway producers, casting directors, and ultimately, the audience. The kind of information that, if strategically revealed, could reshape the narrative surrounding Meghan Markle from a celebrated actress to a controversial figure in Hollywood. And yet, the question remained, why target Meghan now? Some speculate that Lily saw an opportunity, a strategic moment to assert her dominance in a high-profile project. Others believe it was a matter of personal conviction, a desire to maintain integrity in a world often riddled with artifice. But the truth likely lies somewhere in between, a mixture of calculated career strategy and instinctual rivalry. Hollywood is never purely about talent. It's about timing, positioning, and narrative control. Lily understood this. Meghan had learned it the hard way. And now, their worlds were colliding. The intrigue only deepened when rumors suggested that Lily wasn't merely planning to compete with Meghan in acting skill alone. Sources hint at a larger campaign. Subtle social media maneuvers, strategic press leaks, and perhaps even quiet lobbying with film executives. The goal? To expose any professional missteps and undermine public perception, without ever stepping into the tabloid spotlight directly. It's a chess game played behind closed doors, and for Meghan, the stakes couldn't be higher. And while fans and critics debated online, the actresses themselves reportedly navigated a delicate balance of professionalism and personal tension on set. Every line delivered, every gesture observed, every scene filmed was scrutinized, not just for artistic merit, but for subtle signs of dominance, resilience, or vulnerability. It was an unspoken duel, one that few outsiders could fully comprehend, but one that those present described as palpable, almost electric. The tension, the whispered conversations, the fleeting glances, all contributed to an atmosphere charged with anticipation and anxiety. By now you might be asking, what does this mean for Meghan Markle's career? Could Lily Collins truly derail someone with international fame, royal connections, and a previously successful acting resume? The answer isn't simple. Hollywood is unpredictable. Fame is a fickle friend, and rivalries like this, they are rarely straightforward. What appears to be a personal feud often has broader implications, influencing casting decisions, public perception, and the opportunities available for years to come. And in this case, insiders claim that Meghan may have underestimated just how calculated and determined Lily Collins could be. And just when it seemed the story had reached its peak tension, an even more shocking element surfaced. Whispers of secret evidence, stories, and incidents that could redefine everything Hollywood thought it knew about Meghan Markle. Details that, until now, had been locked away in private correspondence, overlooked production notes, or quietly whispered testimonies. And Lily Collins? Allegedly poised to use them with precision. 2 A-listers, 1 movie, and a collision nobody saw coming. That's how one insider described the brewing storm on the set of Close Personal Friends. On paper, the pairing seemed perfect. Meghan Markle, the former Duchess, making a high-profile return to acting, alongside Lily Collins, the Hollywood darling whose career had been marked by precision, poise, and critical acclaim. But in Hollywood, perfect pairings rarely stay perfect. And when ambition, pride, and a relentless drive for control intersect, sparks and scandals are inevitable. The story begins with context. Meghan's rise to fame had always been unconventional. From a supporting role on General Hospital to her breakthrough as Rachel Zane on Suits, she demonstrated talent and charisma. Her performances drew attention, but it was her life off-camera that would eventually eclipse her on-screen work. Marriage into the British royal family turned Meghan into a global figure overnight, and with that came scrutiny, expectations, and, crucially, a gap in her acting resume. Hollywood doesn't always wait. Absences can become opportunities for others, a fact Lily Collins was well aware of. Lily Collins, in contrast, had steadily climbed the Hollywood ladder with careful choices, each project carefully calibrated to showcase her range while protecting her image. She understood the delicate balance between visibility and credibility. When she heard Meghan was joining close personal friends, a project with high stakes and substantial media attention, she reportedly felt a mixture of intrigue and caution. "It's not personal, it's business," an insider said. But in Hollywood, business decisions often feel personal. From the moment Meghan arrived on set, the energy shifted. Observers noted the subtle tension. A measured politeness layered over an unspoken wariness. Every conversation, every shared scene, carried the weight of silent evaluation. Meghan, used to navigating intense media scrutiny, knew how to project confidence and charm. Yet Lily, equally skilled in managing image and perception, was not so easily impressed. What started as courteous professionalism quickly evolved into a strategic dance, each trying to assert dominance without tipping the scales into open conflict. Reports from crew members painted a vivid picture. Scenes that should have flowed smoothly instead became tense exchanges. Camera operators noticed that both actresses were meticulously attentive to every detail: timing, expression, line delivery. Production assistants whispered about fleeting glances, subtle smirks, and unspoken challenges. Even minor deviations in scene blocking or dialogue intonation were scrutinized, almost as if the set itself had become a stage for a silent, high-stakes duel. This wasn't merely speculation. Evidence of competitive friction began surfacing in small, indirect ways. For example, promotional meetings reportedly became arenas for subtle assertion. One source mentioned that during a press briefing, Lily accidentally on purpose overshadowed Meghan in responses, steering conversations toward her own achievements and away from Meghan's past successes. Meghan, for her part, was reportedly aware of the tactic and responded with controlled grace, but insiders could sense the tension, a taut line stretched between professionalism and rivalry. And then there were the whispers from outside the set. Hollywood, ever hungry for drama, caught wind of the pairing and immediately began speculating. Fans and journalists debated endlessly online. Would Meghan's royal background intimidate Lily? Could Lily's Hollywood experience challenge Meghan's legitimacy? Would the media frame this as a career-defining moment for one and a humiliating stumble for the other? The conversation grew louder with every social media post, every hint of a rift, every carefully photographed public appearance. The collision wasn't just on set. It had extended into the court of public opinion, where perception can often outweigh reality. Yet, behind the gossip, there were deeper layers at play. Meghan's return to acting was fraught with unique pressures. After stepping back from royal duties, she had to navigate not just the expectations of Hollywood audiences, but also the persistent gaze of global media. Every choice, every performance, every appearance was magnified. Mistakes, real or imagined, could dominate headlines and shape narratives for months. In this context, a rivalry with someone like Lily Collins, who had carefully cultivated respect and credibility in the industry, was far from trivial. It was potentially career-altering. Lily's strategy, according to insiders, was deliberate. She wasn't simply reacting to Meghan's presence. She was positioning herself as the dominant force in the room. This included subtle control over scene dynamics, influencing shooting schedules, and even engaging in private conversations with the director to highlight her own preparedness and professionalism. While none of this was overt, the cumulative effect created an atmosphere of tension and scrutiny that Meghan had to navigate with both skill and poise. Interestingly, this collision wasn't confined to ego or competition. It was also about contrasting personas. Meghan, once a beloved television actress, carried the weight of royal expectation and public scrutiny. Her every gesture was analyzed, her every line interpreted through the lens of fame, royalty, and controversy. Lily, in contrast, had cultivated a career that balanced critical acclaim with public charm, projecting an image of reliability and artistry. The juxtaposition was stark, and it amplified the intensity of every interaction on set. What could have been a harmonious collaboration instead became a delicate interplay of power, perception, and control. And yet, beneath the professional maneuvering, there were undercurrents of emotion, insecurity, rivalry, pride, and even fear. Meghan reportedly questioned whether her return to Hollywood would be welcomed or weaponized. Lily, on the other hand, seemed to treat the situation as a test of strategy, leveraging every advantage she had to maintain the upper hand. Both understood that in Hollywood, perception can often outweigh reality, and that control of narrative is just as important as talent or performance. As filming progressed, the collision intensified. Scenes that required intimacy or shared emotional beats became subtle arenas of competition. Camera crews noticed a heightened tension during critical takes, with both actresses keenly aware of the other's presence and performance. There were moments when laughter, gestures, or delivery seemed layered with more than character intent. They were imbued with the subtext of rivalry, each trying to assert dominance while maintaining professionalism. Fans and commentators didn't need insider access to sense the tension. Social media, the modern echo chamber of celebrity life, quickly picked up on it. Posts, tweets, and Instagram stories hinted at friction. Public appearances showed moments of distance or subtle rivalry. Comment sections erupted with speculation. Was Meghan intimidated? Was Lily being calculated? Were these the beginnings of a scandal that could redefine careers? The online narrative grew faster than the actual events, creating a feedback loop of perception, rumor, and expectation that heightened the stakes on set. But even with all this attention, the most critical element remained hidden: the unseen strategies, private calculations, and deliberate maneuvers that were shaping the outcome. Neither Meghan nor Lily was simply acting out of impulse. Each was acutely aware of the stakes, the optics, and the potential impact on their careers. Every line, every movement, every glance was a calculated decision, an attempt to navigate a collision course that was as psychological as it was professional. Then, just as the tension seemed to have peaked, an unexpected twist emerged. Reports suggested that Lily had uncovered elements of Meghan's past that were not public knowledge. Minor controversies, professional disputes, and behind-the-scenes incidents that could, if revealed strategically, challenge her credibility and influence in Hollywood. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just a clash of talent. It was a battle over narrative, reputation, and the very perception of who deserved to occupy the spotlight. The collision, in other words, was far from over. In fact, it was only beginning to escalate. And just when it seemed that the collision could not intensify further, a shocking incident on set took everyone by surprise. An event so unexpected that it left crew members speechless, actors tense, and insiders scrambling to understand the full scope. Whatever happened next would not only impact the dynamic between Meghan and Lily, but would also send ripples through Hollywood, altering perceptions, alliances, and the course of two very high-profile careers. Some rivalries simmer quietly for years before anyone notices. Others erupt spectacularly in public view. And then there's the rivalry between Meghan Markle and Lily Collins, one that has been quietly building long before the cameras rolled on close personal friends. The story of this secret rivalry isn't just about two actresses sharing a screen. It's about Hollywood's complex ecosystem, where every casting decision, every award nomination, and every industry handshake carries the weight of ambition, influence, and unspoken power. On the surface, Meghan's return to acting looked like a personal choice, a way to reclaim the career she had paused for royal duties. But behind closed doors, it was far more than that. It was a challenge to a system carefully navigated by Lily Collins, a young star who had built her career with precision, patience, and an acute awareness of Hollywood's invisible hierarchies. To understand the rivalry, it's essential to step back and look at the players. Meghan, despite her relatively brief acting career before marriage, was a household name thanks to Suits and her high-profile marriage. Fame, however, is a double-edged sword. Public attention can open doors, but it also casts a long shadow, making any misstep larger than life. Lily, on the other hand, had cultivated a reputation for reliability, professionalism, and a strategic approach to career growth. While she may not have had royal headlines following her, she had something just as valuable in Hollywood: credibility, influence, and insider support. Insiders describe the rivalry as a delicate tension, part personal, part professional. It's the kind of dynamic where glances carry messages, offhand comments are loaded with subtext, and public statements are calculated to maintain advantage. According to crew members, early interactions on set were polite but cautious, each actress aware of the other's presence and power. Professionalism was maintained, but beneath the surface, a battle for dominance had begun. Every scene, every line, every camera angle was an opportunity to assert authority or test boundaries. Industry insiders suggest that the rivalry extends beyond mere co-starring. Lily Collins reportedly perceives Meghan as a threat, not because of talent, but because of the unique combination of fame, influence, and public intrigue that Meghan brings. In Hollywood, where perception is as valuable as performance, Meghan's royal background can intimidate, distract, or shift attention away from seasoned actors who have worked tirelessly to earn their place. Lily, by all accounts, understands this dynamic and seems determined not to be overshadowed. The subtle strategies on set have reportedly been fascinating to witness. Lily is said to monitor Meghan's interactions carefully, not overtly, but with a keen sense of observation, noting every facial expression, tone, and gesture. These observations aren't for gossip, they're tactical. In Hollywood, information is power. Knowing how someone reacts under pressure, what they fear, what they value, can give an actor or insider leverage, sometimes in ways the public never sees. Meanwhile, Meghan, having navigated the glare of royal scrutiny, is no stranger to pressure. She's familiar with criticism, media spin, and public judgment. But Hollywood operates differently than monarchy. Here, alliances are subtle, reputations are fragile, and a single misstep can ripple through years of carefully built credibility. According to reports, Meghan quickly realized that Lily's approach was methodical, not confrontational, but precise and always strategic. It was a different kind of challenge, one that required not only acting skill but also social intelligence and resilience. The rivalry is further complicated by past whispers in the industry. Rumors hint at subtle competition long before this film: overlapping auditions, minor social media clashes, and shared contacts in production circles. Some insiders suggest that Lily may have viewed Meghan as someone whose fame could artificially inflate opportunities, potentially diverting roles from actors who had spent years navigating the traditional Hollywood path. Meghan, in turn, is reported to have been cautious about those who questioned her credibility or who scrutinized her every move. Fans, of course, have been quick to weigh in. Online, the narrative is already taking shape. Meghan as the underdog, returning from a royal hiatus. Lily as the poised, calculating powerhouse, ready to assert her dominance. Social media amplifies the tension, often distorting reality, but always feeding curiosity. Every red carpet appearance, every promotional interview, every behind-the-scenes photo becomes a potential battleground, analyzed for signs of alignment, conflict, or tension. But the most fascinating aspect of this rivalry is that it isn't merely about ego. It's about narrative control. Lily Collins reportedly understands that public perception can determine opportunity, influence, and career longevity. By establishing herself as the dominant presence in close personal friends, she can subtly shape the conversation around the film, the characters, and even Meghan's career trajectory. Conversely, Meghan's strategy seems to rely on resilience, authenticity, and the ability to navigate scrutiny while maintaining her own voice. This rivalry also carries historical echoes. Hollywood has always thrived on stories of professional tension, rivalries that fuel gossip, media coverage, and audience interest. From Bette Davis and Joan Crawford to more contemporary clashes, the dynamic is familiar: a blend of talent, ambition, and the pursuit of visibility. What makes Meghan and Lily's situation unique is the combination of global fame, royal legacy, and social media amplification, creating stakes that extend far beyond the film itself. Insiders also hint at an emotional layer. Both actresses reportedly bring personal investment to their craft, and with personal stakes, tensions are amplified. Every scene becomes a testing ground. Subtle looks, timing, and delivery carry extra meaning. Crew members describe moments of palpable energy, a sense that the room is charged with anticipation and strategy. There is respect, yes, but it is intertwined with a quiet wariness, each recognizing the other's talent and influence, and each unwilling to cede control. And then there's the public dimension. While Hollywood insiders understand the nuances, the broader audience interprets this rivalry through a different lens: celebrity gossip, social media speculation, and media headlines. Fans pick sides, memes emerge, and speculation flourishes. The narrative spins outward, influencing perception and sometimes even shaping reality. In this sense, the secret rivalry is no longer confined to the set. It has become a public story, one that will unfold in real time with consequences that are difficult to predict. Yet, despite the tension, both actresses reportedly maintain outward professionalism. Scenes are completed, lines delivered, and the film progresses. The rivalry manifests subtly in glances, timing, and the careful calibration of interactions. It's strategic, not overt, and it's this subtlety that makes it all the more compelling. Hollywood thrives on perception, and a rivalry managed with precision can influence casting decisions, media narratives, and even audience engagement. But here's where the stakes rise dramatically. Sources claim that Lily has allegedly begun uncovering aspects of Meghan's professional history, incidents and stories that were never meant to be public. Minor conflicts on past sets, disagreements with previous colleagues, moments of tension that were quietly contained. All of it, insiders say, could be leveraged strategically to shape narrative, influence perception, and assert dominance in this high-profile collaboration. And just when it seemed the rivalry had reached its calculated peak, an unexpected factor emerged: a third-party revelation. Whispers of behind-the-scenes evidence, a leaked anecdote, or a private communication had begun to surface, hinting at tensions that were more complex than either actress could fully anticipate. It wasn't just the rivalry itself that threatened to make headlines. It was what this rivalry might reveal about the broader dynamics of Hollywood, fame, and influence. The secret rivalry between Meghan Markle and Lily Collins is far from a simple clash of egos. It is a complex interplay of history, ambition, strategy, and perception. Every move, every glance, every carefully chosen word is part of a broader battle for dominance, credibility, and control. And while the public sees only the surface, insiders understand the depth of calculation, the subtle strategies, and the high stakes involved. But the tension is only building. And just when everyone thought they had a handle on the dynamics, a shocking revelation from an insider would threaten to upend everything, forcing both actresses to confront truths, secrets, and strategies that neither anticipated. Some secrets are meant to stay buried. Others resurface at exactly the wrong moment, or the right one, depending on who's holding them. For Meghan Markle, the past she thought she had left behind was quietly resurfacing in ways that could change everything. Hollywood, for all its glitz and glamour, is rarely forgiving. Reputation can be built over years and undone in moments. For Meghan Markle, whose public life has been scrutinized from every angle, first as an actress, then as a royal, and now again as an ambitious Hollywood player, the stakes were higher than ever. What most people see on screen is a polished, curated performance. What few see are the intricate layers of personal history, professional conflict, and human vulnerability that shape those performances. And now, those layers were about to be exposed. The story of Meghan's hidden past isn't about tabloid sensationalism. It's about the very real intricacies of Hollywood life. Friends and former colleagues whispered about moments of tension on past sets, disagreements with directors, disputes with co-stars, and decisions that, at the time, seemed minor but now could be magnified under the lens of public scrutiny. From small disputes over lines to more serious clashes over creative direction, there were countless instances that, if framed strategically, could paint Meghan in a far less favorable light than the image she carefully cultivated as both a royal figure and an accomplished actress. Lily Collins, insiders claim, understood the power of this knowledge. It's not enough in Hollywood to simply act well. Perception, narrative, and credibility are currency. Every actor knows it, every producer respects it, and every rival can exploit it. According to sources, Lily began quietly piecing together anecdotes and evidence from Meghan's prior work, identifying moments that, while previously inconsequential, could now be leveraged to question her professionalism, her reliability, and ultimately, her place in the industry. The details are subtle but telling. Crew members recall times when Meghan allegedly expressed frustration with set conditions, sometimes with colleagues, and sometimes with herself. Production notes from early projects hinted at tension between her and certain co-stars, though none of these disputes were ever publicized. These stories might seem minor to the casual observer, but in the high-stakes world of Hollywood, every whisper can become a headline, every glance a talking point, and every offhand comment a potential scandal. Adding complexity is Meghan's unique trajectory. Unlike most actors whose careers follow predictable arcs, Meghan's path was disrupted by marriage into the British royal family. She stepped away from acting at a time when her career could have continued to grow, and she returned with a different persona, one shaped by public scrutiny, philanthropic endeavors, and a life lived in constant media attention. This dual identity, actress and former duchess, created tension not only in public perception but also within the industry. Some insiders viewed her as an outsider attempting to re-enter a world that had moved forward in her absence, while others saw her as a figure whose fame could disrupt established dynamics. The tension reached a critical point with Lily Collins, who reportedly saw Meghan's royal and media experience as both a threat and an opportunity. According to insiders, Lily began compiling evidence of Meghan's past conflicts and missteps. Anecdotes from former sets, interviews, and even private communications. Each piece was carefully cataloged, forming a comprehensive picture of Meghan's professional history. The intent, sources suggest, was not to humiliate, but to strategically challenge her credibility and assert dominance within the film's dynamic. And then there were the rumors, the whispered stories circulating among Hollywood insiders. They weren't tabloid headlines, but rather behind-the-scenes observations. Meghan's alleged difficulty with collaborative decision-making, her precise demands on set, and moments where her assertiveness might have been perceived as overstepping. In Hollywood, perception is everything. The same qualities that make an actor confident and assertive can be recast as arrogance or difficulty, depending on who is framing the narrative. Lily, insiders say, understood this nuance perfectly, but the revelations didn't stop at professional history. Sources hinted at personal matters, moments from Meghan's life that, while previously private, had the potential to influence public perception if revealed strategically. Relationships, choices, and past decisions could all be reframed to challenge her credibility or authenticity in the public eye. Hollywood thrives on storytelling, and Lily, according to insiders, was preparing to craft a narrative that would position her as both the ethical, credible actress and Meghan as a figure whose past warranted scrutiny. Even social media became a battlefield. Every post, every comment, and every public interaction was analyzed. Fans noticed subtle changes in Meghan's communication style, from interviews to Instagram updates, while others speculated on the growing tension with Lily. Each observation fueled speculation. Were there hidden conflicts? Was there a behind-the-scenes struggle for dominance? And perhaps most importantly, how much of Meghan's past would resurface now that she had returned to a world that never forgets? What makes this chapter in Meghan's story particularly compelling is the interplay between perception and reality. For those outside Hollywood, she may appear flawless, a former duchess, media-savvy, and talented. But insiders understand that every public figure has vulnerabilities, and that vulnerabilities can be weaponized. Meghan's hidden past, carefully documented and selectively highlighted, could serve as the fulcrum in a power struggle that extends far beyond the set of close personal friends. And while many assumed that Meghan's life under the royal microscope had prepared her for scrutiny, this was a different kind of evaluation. Here, the stakes were personal, professional, and high stakes in a way that even global fame cannot shield someone from. Every anecdote, every past dispute, every minor incident could now be reframed as evidence of difficulty or unreliability. The industry thrives on nuance, and nuance can become narrative when wielded strategically by someone with insight, intent, and influence, like Lily Collins. Yet, despite these pressures, Meghan reportedly maintained her professionalism. Interviews with insiders describe her as poised, graceful, and calculated, aware of the tensions around her and navigating them with deliberate care. But even the most prepared individual cannot control the release of information, the framing of narrative, or the interpretation of past events. Hollywood, in this way, is relentless. It rewards strategy, punishes missteps, and elevates perception to a level that can overshadow talent. And then came the whispers that truly escalated the stakes. Reports of secret evidence, documents, communications, and first-hand accounts from previous productions that Lily allegedly obtained. While specifics remain unverified, the implication was clear. These revelations could challenge Meghan's credibility and influence, making her not just a co-star, but a target in a carefully orchestrated strategy. The past, it seemed, was not done with Meghan Markle. Finally, the emotional dimension cannot be understated. The pressure of past actions, the scrutiny of the present, and the uncertainty of the future combined to create an almost palpable tension. Friends and colleagues describe a sense of underlying anxiety on set, an awareness that every action could have consequences, that every interaction could be interpreted, and that the collision of past and present could redefine careers. And just when it seemed the situation could not become more fraught, a revelation surfaced that shocked even the most jaded insiders. Evidence from Meghan's past that, if made public, could ignite controversy and force her to confront truths she had long hoped would remain private. It wasn't merely anecdotal. It was substantive, potentially reshaping how she was perceived not only by Hollywood but by the global audience. Lily Collins isn't just acting. She's making a statement. And according to insiders, that statement was loud, deliberate, and aimed squarely at Meghan Markle. On the surface, close personal friends might have appeared as just another film, a romantic drama, a high-profile project, a career milestone. But beneath the polished promotional photos and rehearsed interviews, a more strategic narrative was unfolding. Lily Collins, who had spent years building a meticulous career, reportedly recognized a rare opportunity. Meghan's entry into Hollywood after royal life wasn't just newsworthy, it was disruptive. And where disruption occurs, some see threat, while others see opportunity. For Lily, it was both. Insiders describe a moment early in production where Lily reportedly made her intentions unmistakably clear. During a private meeting with close collaborators, she allegedly stated that she would not allow her career to be overshadowed, and that she intended to assert control in ways that would protect her professional space. It wasn't aggressive, it was precise, one crew member said. She wasn't threatening anyone publicly, but everyone on set could feel it. This was strategic. This was a promise to herself and to the people she trusted professionally. She wouldn't back down, and she would shape the narrative. This bold promise, as insiders describe it, wasn't simply about co-starring with Meghan. It was about reputation, credibility, and the subtle but powerful game of perception in Hollywood. Lily understood that fame can be transient, that public image can be shaped by selective leaks, and that control over narrative often determines opportunity. In this context, the promise to assert dominance was less about rivalry and more about career preservation, a proactive strategy in a competitive industry where influence matters as much as talent. Sources suggest that Lily's approach was multifaceted. On one level, she focused on her own performance, ensuring that every scene, every line, and every emotional beat demonstrated her skill, professionalism, and range. On another level, she reportedly paid careful attention to Meghan's presence, how she interacted with directors, producers, and other cast members, how her past experiences informed her behavior, and how subtle nuances could be leveraged to establish narrative control. It was chess on a cinematic scale, and Lily was playing with deliberate precision. Social media became an unexpected arena for this strategy. Observers noted that Lily's posts, interviews, and public appearances were curated in ways that subtly reinforced her credibility and professionalism, while indirectly highlighting Meghan's relative inexperience in high-stakes Hollywood projects. It was subtle, but anyone paying attention could see it, a source explained. It wasn't bullying or attacking, but it was calculated. She was building her position without being overtly confrontational. The The psychological dimension cannot be ignored. Lily reportedly understood that perception often outweighs reality. By projecting calm confidence, professionalism, and control, she could influence both audience sentiment and industry opinion. Meanwhile, Meghan, despite her own experience with public scrutiny, faced a different set of challenges. Navigating Hollywood after the intense and highly structured scrutiny of royal life is no small feat, and the dynamics of set relationships, alliances, and unspoken competition added a layer of complexity few outside insiders could grasp. It's also worth noting the emotional stakes. Lily's bold promise wasn't made in a vacuum. Hollywood is notoriously competitive, and actors often internalize pressure, rivalry, and ambition in ways that influence both performance and personal behavior. Insiders reported that the promise created a palpable tension on set, a mix of anticipation, respect, and anxiety. Crew members described moments when every glance, every gesture, every line delivery seemed loaded with significance, a silent communication of power, strategy, and assertion. Part of Lily's strategy reportedly involved leveraging subtle insights into Meghan's past, the anecdotes, the minor controversies, the behind-the-scenes challenges. By understanding her co-star's history, Lily could anticipate reactions, frame interactions, and maintain an upper hand in ways that were invisible to the public but influential on set. Hollywood insiders call this narrative positioning, the ability to subtly shape perception through careful observation and deliberate behavior. And according to sources, Lily mastered it. This bold promise also had a performative aspect. Lily is known for her ability to command attention without overt displays of power. Through poise, professionalism, and calculated presence, she could communicate dominance subtly yet unmistakably. Observers describe moments during rehearsals and filming when her body language, timing, and expressions conveyed confidence and control. A quiet message that she was unshakable and prepared to assert her professional authority. Meanwhile, Meghan reportedly recognized the implications. Former colleagues and insiders suggest that she was both cautious and strategic, aware that Lily's actions were deliberate. But despite her experience with intense public scrutiny, the Hollywood environment posed unique challenges. Unlike royal life, where protocols and hierarchy provide structure, Hollywood is informal, competitive, and unpredictable. Perception can be manipulated, narratives can shift quickly, and influence often operates behind closed doors. Meghan was now navigating a world that was as competitive as it was complex, and Lily's bold promise intensified the stakes. The situation escalated further during collaborative scenes. Crew members described subtle interactions, quick glances, precise timing, and nuanced performances that created tension without overt confrontation. These moments weren't scripted. They were the unspoken expression of strategy, power, and intent. For observers, the interplay was fascinating, a quiet battle unfolding beneath the polished veneer of film production, demonstrating that sometimes the most compelling drama exists off-camera. Industry insiders also report that Lily's bold promise extended to public relations and media strategy. Interviews, appearances, and social media activity were carefully calibrated to reinforce her credibility while indirectly highlighting her professionalism compared to Meghan's relatively recent re-entry into Hollywood. It wasn't malicious, sources say, but it was strategic. A methodical reinforcement of her own position while signaling to the broader industry that she was the actor to watch, the one with influence, and the one who commanded respect. But the most compelling aspect of this chapter in the unfolding story is the psychological intensity. A bold promise in Hollywood isn't just a statement. It's a commitment to strategy, perception, and influence. Lily's promise reportedly affected every interaction on set, from shared scenes to private discussions, creating an environment where every action carried layered meaning. Meghan, despite her poise and experience, faced an environment charged with unspoken competition, subtle observation, and calculated influence. And just when it seemed that Lily's strategy had reached a peak of subtle dominance, reports indicate that she escalated her approach further. Rumors suggest that she began carefully hinting to industry insiders about aspects of Meghan's past. Professional missteps, minor conflicts, and behind-the-scenes incidents that, while previously contained, could now influence perception if amplified. These hints weren't publicized, but their strategic dissemination added another layer of tension, a reminder that Hollywood operates on influence, information, and timing. In the midst of this calculated tension, both actresses reportedly maintained professionalism in public. Scenes were completed, lines delivered, and filming continued. But off-camera, the intensity grew. Observers noted a quiet but persistent sense of strategy, calculation, and anticipation, the kind that can define not just a single project, but entire careers. And then came the pivotal moment, an incident on set that insiders describe as the point of no return. Details remain scarce, but the consensus is clear. Lily's bold promise was no longer hypothetical. It had become a tangible force, influencing interactions, shaping narrative, and challenging Meghan to navigate a world where every past action, every subtle gesture, and every professional decision could be scrutinized, interpreted, and leveraged. The cameras were rolling, the lights were perfect, and the crew believed they were filming a typical high-profile Hollywood production. But behind the scenes of close personal friends, a drama was unfolding that no script could capture. From day one, insiders say the atmosphere on set was charged. While both Meghan Markle and Lily Collins maintained outward professionalism, subtle tensions simmered beneath the surface. Crew members reported moments where glances lingered just a beat too long, where laughter carried an edge, and where gestures seemed deliberately measured. These were not the ordinary nuances of collaboration. They were signs of a silent duel playing out in real time. It started small. Minor disagreements over scene direction, slight changes in dialogue delivery, and adjustments in blocking that seemed innocuous to the casual observer were anything but. Production notes hinted at repeated requests for reshoots of particular scenes, often without clear justification. Insiders suggest that these reshoots were less about technical perfection and more about navigating a subtle power struggle. Each actress asserting influence over the production process in ways that were invisible to most but unmistakable to those in the know. Crew members began noticing a pattern. Whenever Meghan attempted to assert her interpretation of a scene, subtle corrections or suggestions from Lily seemed to redirect the energy. It wasn't aggressive, but it was strategic. A glance here, a tone there, a shift in timing. All small moves, but cumulatively powerful. It was an intricate psychological dance, one that combined performance with positioning, and it created an undercurrent of tension that made the production both exhilarating and fraught. Insiders also reported unusual interactions with the production staff. Requests that might have seemed ordinary to outsiders often carried subtext. Lines delivered in a particular way, camera angles suggested in private discussions, and minor modifications to scene setup were all reportedly influenced by the dynamic between Meghan and Lily. Some staff members admitted to feeling caught in the middle, tasked with executing both actresses' visions while navigating unspoken rivalries. The media began picking up on hints of this behind-the-scenes drama. Social media chatter, fueled by leaked photos and subtle comments from insiders, painted a picture of an intense and complex dynamic. Observers speculated about what was real and what was perception, but the intensity of interest only amplified the stakes. Fans began to dissect every public interaction between the two stars, turning the invisible tension of the set into a virtual spectacle. One of the most striking aspects of this behind-the-scenes drama was the role of subtle communication. Crew members described instances where a simple nod, a smile, or a pause could carry multiple layers of meaning. For example, a single raised eyebrow from Lily could suggest disapproval, challenge, or even a strategic test. Similarly, Meghan's controlled reactions often conveyed confidence, awareness, and strategic restraint. It was an intricate dance of perception and performance, one that blurred the lines between personal rivalry and professional collaboration. Adding to the complexity was the emotional weight each actress brought to the set. For Meghan, returning to Hollywood after a life in the royal spotlight was inherently challenging. Public scrutiny, lingering expectations, and personal pressures combined to create a heightened sense of vulnerability. Lily, meanwhile, approached the set with meticulous focus, aware that her professional reputation could be shaped by every scene, interaction, and public perception. The clash of personal histories, ambitions, and professional stakes created a rich but volatile environment. Humor and irony also played a role in the set dynamics. Insiders described moments where attempts at levity, a joke, a playful gesture, or casual banter, were interpreted through the lens of tension. Laughter sometimes carried a subtle edge. Camaraderie was occasionally punctuated by competitive undercurrents, and even moments of apparent collaboration were layered with strategic nuance. The complexity of human interaction in such a high-pressure, high-visibility environment made the filming process as psychologically demanding as it was creatively challenging. Perhaps the most revealing incidents involved collaborative scenes requiring emotional intimacy. Crew members recall moments when the actors' interactions were electric, not just because of on-screen tension, but because of off-screen dynamics. Glances held a fraction longer, gestures were layered with meaning, and timing of delivery seemed calculated to assert presence or gauge reactions. Observers described these moments as a silent dialogue, occurring alongside the scripted narrative, a conversation that shaped perception and influence in real time. Social media amplified every nuance. Fans noticed subtle body language cues in behind-the-scenes footage, while commentators speculated endlessly about the evolving dynamic. Memes, posts, and threads emerged analyzing gestures, expressions, and interactions. Every glance was scrutinized, every laugh dissected, and every minor delay became a potential talking point. The invisible tension of the set was now a public spectacle, creating a feedback loop where perception shaped reality and vice versa. Crew members also revealed moments of direct confrontation, though rare and often subtle. A misaligned scene, a disputed line interpretation, or a minor disagreement over stage direction could escalate quickly into silent standoffs. Neither actress reportedly lost professionalism, but the psychological intensity was palpable. Each interaction became a test. Who could maintain composure, assert influence, and manage perception under scrutiny? It was high-stakes theater, performed off-camera, but no less dramatic than the scenes being filmed. And then there were the small but telling strategic maneuvers. Lily, according to insiders, began subtly influencing how scenes were framed, ensuring that her performance, timing, and emotional beats were highlighted. Meghan, aware of this, adapted her approach, balancing authenticity with strategic awareness, delivering performances designed to assert presence without overtly confronting Lily. It was a delicate equilibrium, requiring awareness, adaptability, and resilience. The intensity reached a tipping point during one particularly challenging sequence. Sources describe a scene that required nuanced emotional delivery from both actresses. Multiple takes were required, not due to technical error, but due to the intricate interplay of timing, expression, and reaction. Subtle adjustments in expression or pacing, according to crew members, reflected the unspoken power dynamics at play. Every line became a negotiation, every gesture a statement, and every emotional beat a reflection of strategy and awareness. Even routine aspects of filming were influenced by the undercurrents of rivalry. Blocking, lighting adjustments, and camera positioning were subtly negotiated, with each actress attentive to the potential implications for perception. Crew members admitted that these negotiations, though silent and almost imperceptible, were a central feature of the production experience, a layer of drama hidden beneath the scripted story, yet integral to understanding the larger narrative of the film. And just when it seemed that the set could not hold more tension, a new factor emerged. Whispers of previously unknown incidents from Meghan's past, subtly introduced into conversations by those close to Lily. These anecdotes, while minor on their own, began to accumulate, creating an undercurrent of pressure and anticipation. Crew members noted the change immediately. The energy on set shifted, and even seasoned professionals sensed that something significant was about to unfold. It was a moment that underscored a fundamental truth of Hollywood. The real drama often exists off-camera. Scripts, lines, and rehearsals are only part of the story. The interplay of ambition, strategy, personal history, and perception shapes both the work and the environment in which it is created. On the set of Close Personal Friends, every moment was layered with meaning, every interaction charged with subtext, and every scene a potential turning point in a rivalry that could redefine careers. And just when the tension seemed insurmountable, a shocking incident occurred, one that insiders describe as the spark that ignited the next stage of conflict. Details remain confidential, but sources agree that it forced both Meghan and Lily to confront the depth of their rivalry, the stakes of their collaboration, and the potential consequences of a public and private clash. Hollywood has its secrets, but when insiders start talking, those secrets stop being whispers. They turn into shockwaves. That's exactly what began happening as tension between Meghan Markle and Lily Collins continued to escalate. At first, only a few low-level production assistants and background crew members muttered about what they were noticing. But then, slowly, almost methodically, the real insiders began to speak. People with power, people with history, people who knew Meghan Markle not from headlines, but from personal experience. And what they started revealing, it was explosive, it was messy, it was everything Lily Collins needed, and everything Meghan desperately hoped would never surface. Hollywood insiders don't usually spill unless something big is happening, especially not about A-listers. But something about this project, this pairing, this rivalry, it unlocked the industry vault. Suddenly publicists, casting directors, former co-stars, producers, grips, stylists, and even former agents were swapping stories, many of which had never been spoken outside closed doors. The strange part? The timing. Why now? Why these stories? Why this sudden flood of revelations? It didn't take long before everyone realized the truth. Lily Collins had unintentionally triggered a domino effect. Her quiet but unmistakable campaign to protect her space in Hollywood made people feel safe, even compelled, to speak. Not out of malice, not out of jealousy, but out of a strange combination of loyalty, frustration, and something else. Relief. For years, these insiders had bitten their tongues, protecting Meghan's image, her brand, and her opportunities. But with her re-entry into Hollywood, and especially now that she was up against someone as respected and beloved as Lily, the silence broke. And once the first insider talked, the second followed, and then a third, and then the dam burst. Let's start with the first story. A former Suits assistant who worked closely with Meghan recalled her absolute intensity. Not necessarily bad, but sharp, strategic, calculated. She was always planning 10 steps ahead, the assistant said. Not just in acting, in relationships, conversations, interactions. She played the long game. Then came a story from a stylist who'd worked with Meghan early in her career. Someone who described her as magnetic on camera, but demanding off it. Not rude, not cruel, just exacting. Precise. Every detail had to be controlled. Every shot, every accessory, every line. Hollywood can handle demanding, the stylist said. But only if you're already on top. When you're still climbing, that level of control can rub people the wrong way. Next came a quiet, almost timid voice, a former casting assistant who had worked on a project Meghan auditioned for long before Suits. She didn't get the role, the assistant revealed, but she acted like the room wasn't worthy of her. It shocked everyone. She wasn't rude, but she was superior. Almost like she expected Hollywood to bend around her. Do these anecdotes make Meghan a villain? Not necessarily. Do they expose tension? Absolutely. But the real shockwaves came from higher up, the insiders with real power. One producer recalled an incident during a pitch meeting years before Meghan became a duchess. She reportedly challenged the entire creative direction, contradicting the showrunner and rewriting parts of the pitch on the spot. She had guts, he said, but Hollywood punishes guts when it comes from the wrong person. And at the time, she wasn't in a position to make those moves. Another insider, a well-connected publicist known for shaping careers, provided context that changed everything. You have to understand, she said, Meghan didn't rise like most actresses. She leapfrogged. Her royal marriage changed her entire trajectory. Actors who climb traditionally see that as unfair. Not all, but some, Lily included. This was the first direct link, a bridge between past industry tensions and present rivalry. A bridge Lily Collins understood. A bridge Meghan never expected to cross again. Then came the most explosive insider comments. Stories from executives at two major studios. One claimed that Meghan had once pushed aggressively for a role she wasn't being seriously considered for, and when she didn't get it, she allegedly questioned whether the studio understood the kind of global influence she brought. It didn't sit well, the executive admitted. She was talented. She was ambitious. But her self-perception was inflated. Another studio executive described Meghan as someone who never fully integrated into Hollywood's power structure. While this wasn't inherently a bad thing, it meant she lacked allies. She didn't build the usual network. She didn't form the long-term friendships that protect careers. She didn't play the game the traditional way. Meghan has fans, the executive said. But Hollywood works on loyalty, and loyalty comes from shared struggle. Meghan skipped a few levels. And people remembered that. These insider revelations weren't random. They formed a pattern, a mosaic, a portrait. And that portrait explained why Lily Collins felt the need to protect her space so aggressively. Because when Meghan stepped back into Hollywood, she didn't just bring an acting resume. She brought global fame. She brought controversy. She brought unpredictability. She brought a brand that could overshadow almost anyone, including Lily. Now, let's talk about what insiders revealed about the current production. A lighting technician spilled one of the first major bombs. There was tension, real tension. Not yelling, not fighting, just a thick air. We all felt it. Every day. Then a sound mixer backed it up. They were polite in front of the crew. But I've been on sets for 20 years. I know tension when I hear it. There were pauses, heavy ones. Controlled smiles. Measured breaths. And it got deeper. A script supervisor claimed that Meghan frequently questioned character motivations, scene pacing, and emotional choices. Not a